Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Construct Innovate webinar series on digital construction technologies. My name is Jamie Goggins, and I'm the co-director of Construct Innovate, Ireland's National Research Centre for Construction Technology and Innovation. Delighted to host this webinar today, which is on immersive and intelligent technologies in construction. This webinar is part of a 6-part series. We're on week 5 of week 6. In there, we're delighted to have fantastic speakers again this week, covering a range of topics around immersive and intelligent technologies. So big focus this week on artificial intelligence in there, and then immersive technologies such as the Innovate virtual sites that the Irish Manufacturing Research Centre have developed. So our first speakers will be James Lonergan and Patrick King from the Society of Chartered Surveyors of Ireland. So James is Director of Education and CPD at the SCSI, and Patrick is Director of Membership and Public Affairs. And the Society of Chartered Surveyors of Ireland have developed a digital strategy and report and around the practical applications of AI for professionals. So James and Patrick will go through that side of things. Baran Moradkhani, who's an AI engineer with KOSMOS and also with the University of Galway. She's going to go and tell us about the ABCs of artificial intelligence and machine learning in there. Jenna Farrell, who's Director of Scopey Onsite. She's going to run through a practical AI application for real on-site behaviour from the product that they have developed in Scopey Onsite. And we have Fearghal, who's Director of Software Engineering at the Irish Manufacturing Research Centre, and he's going to show us the Navis virtual software that they have and the platform solution that they have for reducing costs and enhancing communication with the Navis virtual sites. So we're going to take all presentations first, and then we will deal with the questions and answers at the very end. But if you have any questions for any of our speakers, please do pose them in the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen, and you can pose them at any time during the presentations. And as I said, we'll pick up all those questions at the very end after all our 5 presenters have presented. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to our first speakers, first set of speakers, which will be James Lonergan and Patrick King from the Society of Chartered Surveyors of Ireland. So over to you, James.
Great, thank you, Jamie, and thank you to Construct Innovate for the invitation to speak today. Very much appreciate it. Just bear with me, I'll get my slides up here. Hopefully you can see that okay. So what I'll be speaking about today is SCSI's digital strategy. I'm really giving you, I suppose, a bit of a sneak preview of the strategy, which will be going live on our site towards the end of next week. So getting a bit of an advanced view of what it looks like and on some of the pieces that'll be of relevance across the profession, because that kind of collaboration across the profession is a strong theme in it. But just, I suppose, to go back by way of background where the strategy is arising from, SCSI have an overarching, I suppose, strategic plan called Roadmap 2027. And within that document, which you can find on our website, the phrase digital first appears frequently. And I suppose as we've been on this journey, we collaborated with a cross-professional group within our own organization and wider professionals as well to look at the digital space in particular. And it quickly emerged, I suppose, that this needed its own strategic approach for our organization, for our membership. So to give us a bit of an understanding of where our membership was at, we conducted a survey of our membership, and I suppose there were many outcomes from it, but the key things that we took away were that this area is a high priority for our membership, but generally a low understanding. So to develop this particular strategy, we held a series of workshops, both online and in person. People attending those were obviously our own members working across construction, land and property, but it was important that we also had members from other professional bodies to collaborate with us on this as well. We had some interviews with individuals to kind of take a deeper dive into some areas as well. I suppose I'd acknowledge as well, and it's reflected in our report, but there are significant foundations there that we built on. So within the report, we have appendices that look at those foundations. So look at areas like CSG, Build Digital, the BIM mandate. We look at agencies and groups, not least of which Construct Innovate, SEAI and others, other professional bodies, their role in this space. And there's also a section on guidance and resources to, I suppose, to help with that education piece, which is another strong theme in the report. It's not by any means exhaustive. I suppose anyone with any familiarity with this space will know things move very quickly, but it's to give, I suppose, an acknowledgement of those foundations and to build on them as well. So the aims of the strategy then are to prepare and equip our own members and wider stakeholders as well, in terms of this space. And those stakeholders, could include other professionals, but also could be clients, investors, and so on. Um, we identify challenges and risks within this space. So the likes of cost or sometimes perceived cost. What are some of the disruptors? We aim to provide advice and guidance, very much focusing on the how, not on any specific technology. Again, the technology space moves so quickly that you can't really focus on one at the expense of others. Learning lessons from existing initiatives. So I mentioned those foundations we're building on, and ensuring collaboration. So across the built environment in Ireland and further afield as well with our international links. So the strategy is supported by 9 change tracks. So there's some just examples here. I'm not going to go through every single one of them, because I know we're a little bit tight for time, but it's just to give a flavour for what's included in the report. So within the change tracks, we have the likes of, for example, governance roles and responsibilities being the first one. And one of the key actions within that for SCSI is to establish a digitalisation working group. That working group will be made up of both our members and wider stakeholders as well. So anyone who is on the call today who might have an interest in taking part in that working group to help us develop out those actions, KPIs, and so on, and make this a living strategy, do please contact me. Some other examples then, looking at the likes of common tools and processes. We have actions there throughout for SCSI, but recommendations there also for the likes of education providers and government. So an example of a recommendation within the common tools and processes change track is to look at standardized cost and carbon reporting for public sector projects. And there's other change tracks there on education and digitized sustainability being one of particular interest to me within my role, ensuring digitalization is appropriately reflected in accredited courses. So we accredit courses nationally with our partner universities. So we'll work hand in hand with them on that. Moving on then to kind of some other areas that the document looks at. Barriers and opportunities, the value from digitized sustainability, and emerging competencies and responsibilities. So in terms of barriers, that could be things like training and skills gaps in terms of the education side, things like gaps in asset data, for example. There's a whole range of potential barriers and opportunities then. Obviously, some very obvious things like efficiencies, supporting collaboration, supporting innovation, and others as well. And in terms of the value then, so looking at operational sustainability, data-driven decision making, and so on. And then a bit of a focus on emerging competencies and responsibilities. So where those skills and education might need to develop. So things like digital project management came out as quite a strong theme across the life cycle. Cost modeling, life cycle valuation. There's something in there, I suppose, for every sector across our membership and the wider built environment. Measuring success, then I mentioned at the start, we conducted a survey of our membership to give us a bit of a baseline, I suppose, in terms of where our membership are at on this journey. So that's something then that we can use as an annual measure to look at understanding and contribution. We'll look at other areas like cultural shift, skills development, adoption, and collaboration. So in terms of skills, we'll look at things like CPD interaction, and something across, I suppose, all of the measures that we'll be using is to look for exemplars in industry. So in terms of skills, is there evidence of the application of those skills? In terms of adoption, are people reporting that there is adoption of common tools, processes, and standards? And are we seeing evidence of these toolkits being used in projects? In terms of collaboration, again, are we getting reports of that, but also evidence of that? So exemplars would be very important. Next steps, as I said, the document will be available on our site towards the end of next week. Great to have the opportunity to promote it today, and there'll be wider communications that you'll see from SCSI on it as well. I mentioned we are assembling a working group, so anyone interested in taking part, please do get in touch. And the main responsibilities will be helping with the project plan and KPIs on putting it all into action. So I know we're tight on time, so it was a very flying tour, but I'll hand over to my colleague Patrick to cover the next part. Thank you very much.
Thanks, James. So just what I'm going to just quickly talk you through is particularly as most of you, I think we want to make for particularly for the SCSI, we're trying to embrace everybody into this journey. I'm sure there's people at different scales and knowledge of AI. So I'm going to just do a whistle stop tour, particularly for those of you who are perhaps newer to it. So apologies to those of you who are advanced users at this stage. So, just in terms of artificial intelligence, I think part of the reason we're having this session is very much that AI has a transformative impact on this sector. There's lots of great examples out there looking at things, and also we'll be hearing from some of the people that are really pushing this forward. So I'm not going to belabor this, but maybe I'll start by going, if you really are interested in this, maybe start using AI now. And I'm going to start with a consumer AI tool. So what you can use is something like perplexity.ai. So maybe ask a few questions, like give me a list of EU examples, and make this prompt whatever you want. Perplexity is a search engine. So now even you're just, again, just I should note straight away, don't put anything commercially sensitive or GDPR sensitive into this. But it's a great search tool and it's a great introduction to using AI. And it produces a kind of you can see it already in Google that they start doing something similar. But I still find Perplexity has a nicer sort of format, and it might be a great tool for you to hold on to your research. You can then use that research that you've gained. You go down to the bottom and there's little source. So you have the sources for all this information. Some of it's commercial, some of it's actually quite good resources. When Perplexity does it, if you click on that review button, you can see exactly what sort of thought process where it went to get its information. So you've got already you're starting to see a level of transparency and audit trail that's kind of necessary if you're going to be working with AI. So again, with a really basic tool, you're starting to learn some of the introductory steps that you really need to get your head around. You can then take that something like this research that you've just taken and just put it into a tool like Notebook LLM. This is a Google tool, and one of the things I really love about this, I have a long commute. I'm sure many of you do if you're based in the GDA. And you can start listening to something new. So you create a basically a track, and then you can get your podcast built for you just by clicking over there in terms of an audio overview, and it builds a made for you podcast. So maybe you take all the podcasts that Jamie and the team have already done, and you put it into this, and it'll synthesize it into one overarching podcast, or you can interact with it through mind maps or something like that. The content being taken is just huge, and it's a great way to learn. Um, Straight away, I'm telling you that you need to know the difference between a consumer tool versus an enterprise tool. It's fine to use consumer tools in the examples that I've given just there, which is kind of like putting up just basic questions, things like that that you might put on Google. But when you start working with your business, you're going to be looking at enterprise tools, and you really need to understand what the difference is between the two of those. So when you're deciding on your enterprise grade partner, these are the sort of things that I would just take on board. So you really need to think about data governance from the start. And what that means is how are you going to frame your data, where it's secure, how is it secured, who's able to measure it. You can imagine that if your systems are just grabbing from folders that are in SharePoint and you've got archived or old versions, it could be taken from the wrong version. So how you manage that's going to be important. But it's important, so that can actually start before you even bring on a tool on board, and start thinking about that. But then you also need to think about the integration. We went with Copilot within the SCSI because it integrated with our Microsoft suite of stuff, and I'll be going into more detail about that. Look at the legal, compliance, and ethical questions and whether the tools that you use are able to comply with that. And also, your company approach and the process of automation. How do you approach automation within your company? Do you need to make sure that there's a professional who reviews something before an activity is done? Sorry, and then training, of course, and that's what this is about today. Caveat emptor, AI tour. AI can hallucinate. I think that this is something that we all know about, but I'm a little bit more probably reticent on saying that it's hallucinating. It's probably just giving you what you want, so be careful what you ask for. But it is not a legal or a technical authority. It needs to be reviewed, and I think that anybody who's on this needs to make sure that they have a sign-off and audit process It's documented within the RICS Professional Guidance on Responsible AI Use, which is available from their website. We'll be adapting this into the Irish market and also with a bit more of a focus on how to get the most out of it. And obviously, GDPR and commercialization is a huge issue for our industry. I think I won't belabor this too much, but I think that in terms of when you're using generative AI, you need to be careful about the words you choose. Ensure that your structure makes a request. I had a colleague who asked me about, I asked it to compare two documents for what was different or for particular challenges. And the problem is that most people they haven't defined their persona. So tell it as much as you can that you're willing to about what it is that you want to do. So that sort of approach will make a huge difference in terms of the quality of the information out of it. There's tons of tips on how to do this correctly and start to get to work on it. So I'll end by just a few little bits and pieces on things that we've been playing with and using it in. So administrative tasks. So I would put up, we have within the course of a contract or a scheduled year, we have to do certain activities at certain catch key points, but they're not set like the fourth Friday. It's after this happens or this happens. So rather than me sit down and write a big timeline and kind of go through the contract, I just set out the parameters within Copilot and I say, I've got this contract. Put in dates in the diary so that I hit everything that's required. Give me a tentative set of dates and what the key agenda items for those meetings. It produces that. I then flip it in and I go, great. Go through it, review it, and then I go, that looks great. Now send it out to the following invitees and send a Teams meeting request. So that's a nice little fit. Great way to start playing with automated remove administrative tasks. Reviewing documents. So you've completed a tender or a contract and you just want to review it for compliance or maybe scope. Take the two documents, bring them together and sort of go, does this one meet this one's criteria? Really nice and easy way to sort of test yourself rather than using it to create completely generatively your tender proposal. Actually use it to review it. Again, use a contract to create milestones or check lists for your team so that to do certain things, and then data analysis. I've really found it useful in terms of creating Python outputs and other kind of coded bits. And I'll finish on this slide with my last 10 seconds. We've got the ability to build an agent. So if you can build an agent, this allows you to maybe if you have a same kind of repetitive process where you're sort of going like, I want something that's going to just help me to review my tender contracts every time. So you might use something like this in Copilot, where you create an agent that just reviews your tender projects and you give it a folder, and I'll show that in a second, but you give it an outline of what you want it to do, the sort of instructions that you want to do, tell it to be critical, find issues, raise risks for the company, etc. And using that to help it out, you can do that. You then also within the capability of most of these services, they then have the opportunity to pick a SharePoint folder to sort of from so that it can use those to make an assessment and judge. Remember, it's a machine learning tool, and this is exactly what, the more you can use it to teach it and tell it where exactly to go, the better it is. And also, I'd keep your eyes peeled for App Builder within Copilot. If you're within the Microsoft family, it's a new product that's coming out and could be really great for people who are trying to build their own AI tools to integrate in with the Microsoft family. So I hope that whistle stop tour has given you, those of you who probably are new enough to AI, just a bit of a touch point. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Patrick, and thanks, James. It's a great run through. Picked a good bit in there in a few minutes. So yeah, so if anyone's any questions for James or Patrick on the digital strategy from SCSI or the use of AI in construction, please do post them in the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen. So Baran is our next speaker, Baran Moradkhani, who's an AI engineer. And she's going to take us through AI and its impact on construction. So she's going to kind of take us through broadly the different types of AI that we can use and some examples of it in construction. So over to you, Baran.
Hello, everyone. Today I will talk about artificial intelligence and its impact on construction. So my name is Baran, and I'm an AI engineer, and my background is mainly in AI, and I'm working in University of Galway and KOSMOS. So today, at first, I will talk about fundamental of AI, basic of AI, and after that, machine learning, deep learning, and I will talk about use of AI in construction, and at the end, I will go through a challenging and concern. So AI is entire field of study, and machine learning is a subfield of AI. Going to another level, deep learning is a subfield of machine learning, and deep learning models can be further broken down into something called discriminative models, large language models, and generative AI. And intersection between LLMs and generative AIs that are something that are all familiar with it. It's ChatGPT, Copilot, and also Gemini. Now we will go through each of these one by one. In machine learning, two of the most common types of machine learning model are supervised learning and unsupervised learning. Supervised learning use labeled data, but unsupervised learning use unlabeled data. Machine learning is a program that uses training data to train a model. And after it trained model can use to predict the new data. So imagine we have a lot of information about a lot of houses. So we train a model with this information, and after we have a new house data, so we can use this house data, and we can predict the cost of the house. And this is the use of machine learning. And the supervised learning, as I said, the supervised learning use label data. So we have label here and data here and label here. So we need to say, for example, this shape is circle, this shape is triangle, and we input it to machine, and or machine learning model can learn from the data, can learn the shapes, labels, and if you have the test data here, it can give us the prediction. For example, it can say this shape is triangle and this shape is circle. But in unsupervised learning, we don't have the label. We just have some shapes without the labels. So we input it in a machine, and our machine can just divide them and don't say this one is circle. Don't label them. Just divide these shapes from each other. So we're going to machine learning algorithms. We have linear regression. It's something we can use to predict the cost of the house. And also we have logistic regression that, unlike linear regression, it is just using for classifications. It's just like, say, it's spam or not spam. And this is k-means clustering. It doesn't need labels, so it just divides the groups. And this one is KNN, and this algorithm looks the closest data points to decide the category of the new data. And the important one is decision tree. A decision tree split data into branch based on the condition, just like a flowchart. It's used in medical diagnosis. It can decide if a patient has a disease based on the symptom or not. Discriminative model is a type of machine learning that use artificial neural network. So artificial neural network is inspired by human brain and looks like this, like layers and nodes and neurons. So this is our neural network. We have input layer, hidden layer, and output layer. And the more layer we have, there are the most powerful model we have. So we have a full hidden layer in here, and we have a more powerful model in here. So this is the idea of a general overview of how we train a neural network. Imagine our goal is to learn to classify some input data, such as cat or dog images. We fed the training images into our model. Then we make some prediction about the classes. On the other hand, we have predicted labels. and this is the correct classes. And so the difference between our prediction and the actual labels can be defined as error. What we want to do here is to learn to minimize this error, which means making the predictions same as the actual labels. So this is the our neural network. So we have an input like x1 to xt. If we imagine we have an image in input, x1 is the 1 pixel of, the image, and in this layer, we have inputs. When we go here, it multiplied with W's and added with B's, and added with function on here, and another layer again multiplied with W1s, W2s, B2s, and also function, and it also have the prediction in here, and this is the feed forward process, and this is the prediction we have. So we want to minimize the error in here. Error is or loss, the difference between our labels and the prediction labels, and we want to minimize it. For minimizing the loss, we need to adjust the weight in the way that we have a minimum loss in here. So this process is backpropagation. We again back to our model from end layer to the first layer and change the weights in here. So as you can see, we can back to the model and change the weights in a way that we have a less loss in this epoch. So this is a gift that we can show this process. We have a dog image at the input. At the output, the prediction is can we see cat images? So it is wrong, and we need to find the loss, and we need to decrease the loss and change the weight in the way that decrease the loss. And after that, this time we have a prediction of the dog, and that's the truth. So this is the discriminative model. Discriminative model is learned from the relationship between labels of data points. And we have a bunch of pictures that label some of them as the cat and some of them as dog. Discriminative model will learn from the label cat or dog. And if you submit a picture of cat, it will predict the label for this like this. So generative AI, as you know, we have a text input, and also we have a something like images, videos, and text at the output. So imagine we have a types of photo of a picture of a cat or dog, and we input it in a train the model with these images, and we say to the model, give me a new image, and the model give you something like that, new image. So generative AI model types are text to text, text to image, text to video, and text to 3D. And here is LLMs. LLMs are a pre-trained model with a very large set of data, and then we can fine-tune these models for a specific purpose. So you imagine we have a model that learn from a lot of set of data. So that is the normal behavior of dog: stay down, sit, calm, and this is the normal behavior. And but if we want to go a specific thing that we want, so for example, the task is we want to know which one is police dog, which one is guide dog, and which one is hunting dog. We need to pre-train fine-tune the pre-trained models. So in this situation, we need to fine-tune our LLM models. So AI in construction. So I will give some example in 6 main area: planning and design, safety, maintenance, risk assessment, and sustainability and automation. So in planning and design, AI can analyze 1,000 of design options much faster than human. So AI-based design tools can adjust building dimensions, material cost, and accessibility, and carbon footprint also. So instead of manually testing one design at a time, AI can test thousands and helping architects and builders make better decisions and much faster. So in site safety, the construction sites are risky because people, machines and material move at the same time. AI can help by watching the site using camera or drones. It can detect unsafe situations like workers without helmets, someone entering a dangerous area, or equipment moving too closely to people, and can send the alarm to manager or workers, and the team can fix it immediately. So equipment maintenance, construction machine can fail without a warning. AI monitors sensor data like vibration, temperature to spot early early signs of problems, and this lets teams fix machine before they broke, and reducing downtime and keeping the project on track. So in risk assessment, we can predict delays, warn cost overrun, and spot high risk tasks. And in sustainability, we can reduce waste, choose low carbon material, and cut energy use. So AI also can use in autonomous construction equipment. These machines use sensors, GPU, and deep learning to navigate and perform a task with minimal human inputs. For example, autonomous excavators, self-driving bulldozer, and robot surveyors. So before finishing, I want to talk about the challenging of using AI in construction, because this challenging are one of the main reasons why the construction industry is still behind compared to other sectors. So site data is often incomplete or noisy, which makes training model harder. And there's also a gap between the two skills, AI specialists and constructions crews don't always speak the same languages, so the adoption can be slow. On top of that, sensors, GPUs, and computing add a lot of costs, and the team may hesitate to rely on AI unless prediction are clearly reliable. So trust is big issue. And finally, use of camera or connected devices raise privacy and security concern that must be managed carefully. Thank you.
Brilliant, Baran. That's a very good overview of AI. Unbelievable that you were able to fit that within less than 15 minutes. So that's fantastic. So hopefully that gave people a kind of flavor of the different types of AI and what the AI is. And I know there's a lot of terminology that's just thrown around there and that. And the idea with Baran's presentation, I think, was to help us understand some of that terminology and then show some practical applications at the end. So if anyone has any questions for Baran or for any of our previous speakers, then please do post them in the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen. So our third presenter is Jenna Farrell, who's Director of Scopey Onsite, and she's going to show us a practical application of using AI around kind of behaviours on site. So over to you, Jenna.
Thank you. Just share my screen. Right, hopefully you can all see that screen okay. So hi everyone, I'm Jenna Farrell, co-founder of Scopey Onsite. It's an AI tool that turns WhatsApp messages and voice notes from on-site into structured event records for the office. So I'm part of a small team building Scopey Onsite. We're backed by Enterprise Ireland and private investment. I'll give you a quick background about me and why we're so invested in solving the problem of documenting change in real time. So my background is in software design, specifically how people use and interact with software in real environments. I ran a software design agency in Melbourne for a decade, with projects like the Australian Government Election Management System, infrastructure software, and medtech software that was used in aged care homes. In those environments, I learned success is about usability in real conditions. For example, how does a worker 20 meters up a cell tower, sun glaring in his eyes, complete a quality checklist on a phone? Or how does a nurse whose first language isn't English, safely record that Mr. Smith got his 2 p.m. medication. But the biggest issue I repeatedly encountered in my own business was managing change that happened outside the contract. Projects move fast, clients change their mind, unexpected issues arise, deadlines were tight, and documentation always came last. We were constantly doing extra work for free because changes weren't documented properly. And we were losing about 15% of our revenue per project. And it wasn't just a project management issue, it lay in a murky space between communication, contract compliance, and margin protection. So when I started speaking with construction companies, I realized the problem is almost identical in construction, but with much higher stakes. Margins are thinner, projects are larger and more complex, contracts are dense, and undocumented work can have massive commercial consequences. I've been to a lot of industry conferences recently, and I keep hearing, we need to make data-driven decisions. That sounds great, but it begs the question, where does all that data actually live? We like to think all our critical data sits neatly in our project management systems or common data environments. But realistically, a huge amount of important project information lives in WhatsApp. And when I speak to contracting companies, I also hear, we have processes to log issues. We're just struggling to get adoption from staff. Or we use a client system, but we don't really have anything for ourselves. And this matters because a significant amount of project value is lost each year to undocumented variations in work. Not from bad work, from work that just wasn't captured clearly, fast enough, or in the right format based on the contract. It's not hard to see how this happens. People end up scrambling to piece together cause and effect after the fact, linking events to contract entitlements, hunting for photo evidence buried in someone's message thread, or trying to figure out when a notice was due, and it gets messy fast. And if you miss a detail or deadline, you can be time barred, meaning you lose the right to claim for even legitimate work simply because the notice wasn't timely or in the correct format. Contracts often include strict notice periods. If a claim or delay event isn't reported on time, it can be contractually barred, no matter how valid. This puts enormous pressure on teams to not only manage the work, but also document every change accurately and under time pressure. So this is the murky area and one of the things we want to help clear up with Scopey on site, using AI in a practical way that works with human behaviour, not against it. So let's dig into how human this problem is and the behaviour that contributes to the documentation gap. So can you remember exactly what you were doing yesterday at 11:48 a.m? Most of us can't. Details fade fast, right? So now consider Johnny, a supervisor on a busy data centre build. By 11 a.m, he's dealing with the buzzbar delivery not arriving. Oh, Steve just called in sick. Another trade damaging yesterday's work. Scaffolding's delayed. The client asking to change the Unistrix spacing. Johnny is fighting fires constantly. He's on his feet, pacing through the site, managing crews, answering phone calls, fielding questions over WhatsApp, and taking photos of issues. He doesn't have the luxury of stopping to open a laptop or iPad and type up a formal report every time something happens. By the time he does, it's hours later, the details are hazy, and the sequence of events is a blur. And then when the record doesn't match or is missing, the commercial team in the office is left trying to guess what actually happened. People will always gravitate to the easiest communication method in the moment. When I chat to a project manager or supervisor about this problem, they literally pull out their phone and show me thousands of messages and voice notes in WhatsApp, a stream containing all sorts of important project information. Why there? Because it's easy, it's instant. One UK industry article noted that WhatsApp is likely the second most used tool on construction projects after Microsoft Office. But while WhatsApp is great for quick communication, it creates challenges later because everything is sitting scattered across chats. And I'm sure we've all felt the pain of spending half an hour trying to find an important image or message. But this is where AI can become genuinely useful, not by forcing new behavior, but by supporting the behavior that already exists. So we're building Scopey Onsite with AI agents. So Gen AI is the AI most people know, the kind that produces text, content, summaries, videos of Donald Trump dancing Gangnam Style. AI agents go a step further. They complete tasks, use tools, and are outcome-based. They don't just describe something, they can help us get it done. And so here's what that means in practice. When someone shares an update with Scopey in WhatsApp, Scopey interprets it, understands the intent behind it, and gives small nudges so the essential information is captured. It pulls out what matters and makes sure that the right people in the office get clear, timely information. We'll be extending this to email too, because that's another place where lots of critical information lives. Because everything flows through familiar channels, Scopey works with the behaviour that already exists. It turns everyday communication into organised, categorised, time-stamped records, disruptions, variations, quality checks, and the small details the office needs to stay ahead instead of chasing information later. Scopey will also help collate all this information, messages, photos, updates, into one clean record, so the commercial team can see the full story instead of scattered fragments across chats and inboxes. For the supervisor, the experience is simple. They just send a message or voice note the same way they talk to their team members, and Scopey only steps in when something important is missing, asking for a quick detail or a photo so nothing gets forgotten in the rush of the day. There's no new software to learn, no forms, and no change in workflow. On the office side, these events align to the contract, giving commercial teams clear visibility of notice periods and key details. They see what happened, when it happened, and what it connects to, without scrolling through hundreds of messages or searching email threads. So we're working closely with our advisor, Mark Keogh, known for his work in claims, disputes, and resolution, to make sure that information we gather from Scopey maps to what actually matters commercially. This keeps the focus on resolving issues early with proper context. And this is not about billing for every small change. It's about visibility, trust, knowing the facts, protecting margin, and showing the clients the value you delivered, including the work you didn't bill for. Clear records support both sides in a relationship-driven industry. Better documentation for faster resolutions. And if you'd like to see how this works in practice, I'm happy to show your team a demo. So we're building Scopey Onsite alongside design partners in the industry to ensure what we're building is not only highly valuable for companies, but highly usable. We're launching next year, and we may have room for one more in this design partner group, or we'll be opening access in stages through a waiting list next year. So if you're interested in learning more, or just want to chat about AI, add me on LinkedIn. Thanks for your attention.
Brilliant. Thanks, Jenna. Potentially very useful tool. Obviously, WhatsApp used a lot for communication across, and if we can get the required information in the format that we need to document it within our document control and reporting within the organization, then that would be fantastic. Okay, so we're going to move on to our fifth speaker for today, which is Fearghal O'Hare, who's Director of Software Engineering in the Irish Manufacturing Research Centre. And he's so it's a bit of a change of tact here. He's going to talk about Navis Virtual Sites, which is a software platform that they have developed, which helps reduce costs and enhance communications. So over to you, Fearghal.
Thanks, Jamie. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay here. My name is Fearghal O'Hare. I'm the Director of Software Engineering at IMR. And I'm here to tell you a little bit about Navis today. I've only got 10 minutes, so I'll jump straight into a demo, but happy to take questions afterwards as well. So Navat virtualizes your construction sites, and it just needs two things to do. So it needs the Navat editor, which is online, as is everything with Navat. It's online in the cloud, and one of these 360 cameras. I'm sure you've seen them. But the thing with Navat is we designed it to work with any 360 camera. And a lot of our clients, including the client I'll be showing you today, use a camera between the price of €100 to about €500. As you know, construction sites are messy places, things get broken. So expensive equipment that takes a long time is not very practical. And so with these cameras here, you can simply point and click just like your phone, and they're about the size of your phone as well. So I'm going to show you a little demo of an existing client's construction site that uses Navat, and essentially all they used was the editor and their camera, and they were able to virtualize their site once a week or once every 2 weeks, depending on what they wanted, for about 18 months. So hold on 2 seconds. We're going to go for the live demo. Can everyone see my screen change to a website there?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Jimmy. So essentially what I'm going to show you is, and we're going to jump straight into it, but this is going to be a virtual construction site of the MBS Group Eastbrook Studios in London, which is essentially the largest film and TV production studios in London. It's in Dagenham in East London. And essentially it has 12 sound stages, each between 16,000 and 31,000 square feet, 3 acres of backlot, offices, ancillary space, all of which total, I think it's well over actually 500,000 square feet. And they, like I say, they virtualize this once every week, once every 2 weeks, in order to get the benefits of virtualizing your site. And I'll get to that after I show you a bit of a demo. But essentially, at a very high level, virtualizing your site allows everybody who's remote or on site to be gathered in the same spot, looking at the same things when they're discussing challenges, upcoming status of projects, the project progress, etc., etc. What I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into the exterior of the site. So outside the building is just outside the entrance. And to do that, we're going to click on the exterior. The first thing you'll see here is a login. Again, all done through the editor. And essentially what the guys at Eastbrook wanted was they wanted to have a login so that they can manage the access to their contractors, subcontractors, and colleagues. So I'm just going to go ahead and log in here. And when I log in, again, I'm sharing my screen here. It's pretty smooth to me, but it may be a little bit juddery because we're sharing the screen. So I'll try and slow down as much as I can in terms of movement. But essentially what you're seeing here is a splash screen that gives you a little bit of context about what you're going to see. As you can see from the splash screen here, we're going to land ourselves outside some of the studios and the stages. So if I hit Start Tour and I turn around using my click and drag, I can look around, look up and look down. I can look down the lot. And if I see here, you can see these little circles here. I can jump anywhere I want to where you see the circles. You can see in the bottom left-hand corner, you can see the site. All of those blue dots are somewhere I can jump to virtually. And every single building here, all 12 of them, we can jump to any place in that building, in any corner, in any floor, in any space, beside any asset or facility that we want to. And for obvious reasons, that's very, very powerful when we're talking about communicating with our colleagues, stakeholders, clients, and contractors. So I'm going to take a walk over here now. So I've just walked over here. I'm going to look down the site. And now you see some of the really cool features that come about. I'm just going to move this over here. That come about whenever I'm able to virtualize at a high frequency, many hundreds of thousands worth of square feet. And that is, if I click on this clock here, it will bring up a little strip at the bottom with all of the dates and all of the date timestamps that I can jump back to. So let's have a look here. Here's the 29th. The 29th of July looks like a sunny day. If I click on that, all of a sudden it's changed to what it looked like on the sunny day of the 29th of July, 2024. If I look around, I can see immediately that the paving hasn't been done yet. I can see that some of the machinery around me is to do with that paving, and they're working away there, some of the material. Now, that's very well and good, but imagine if you could actually compare and contrast between two dates. Well, you can. So you can actually do a split screen. And now when I look around, I can see things like, for example, that the entrance here hasn't been constructed on the 1st of August, but it has been constructed on the 31st of October. And therefore, if you can imagine presenting your project update to your client, or wanting to clarify communications with your contractor, wanting to understand a little bit more, getting everybody on the same page and aligned with regards to estimations and work to be done and challenges, you can imagine this is very, very powerful. And every single thing on the site has its own unique URL. So therefore, just like YouTube, when you send somebody a video, you can copy the URL from wherever you're standing, and you can actually send it to them, and they will then, when they click it, be standing right there. So I'm just going to X that history, come back to the present day. Oh, and by the way, when you're splitting screens, you can also split the screen, compare and contrast against the BIM model as well. So I can stand myself inside the BIM model. So now you're contrasting either the past with the present, or two past dates, or the past with the future, or the present with the future, because the BIM model represents the future state that you're trying to get to. So we can walk along this site. And like I say, any place I stand, you can copy that URL at the top. It's all a web application. Or if I click on this, you scan that with your phone, and all of a sudden you're brought there with your phone, which is very, very, very powerful for folks on the move, obviously, and for folks actually on site to be able to find their way around. I won't have time today, but it also does auto guidance, just like Google Maps, Google Street View. It'll draw a line on the ground. It'll draw a line on the map. And it'll find you the fastest way to any destination, which is really, really great for the next thing I'm going to show you, which is snagging. So this building in the future, in the distance there, that is the offices of the studios. That's where Steven Spielberg and all the big fancy directors will sit with their crews and be working out the problems with the challenges with their movies. So let's go over there now. So we could walk virtually, but what's the point of being in a virtual world when we can come up 1,000 feet? Have a look at it's called Eastbrook Block 7, and we're going to jump into Eastbrook Block 7. And when we do, it's going to load it up here in another tab. And now it's going to give us the splash screen. It tells us a little bit about the context of what we're going to do. Eastbrook Studios, London, Block 7. We do start tour, and now we're standing in the lobby. Okay. Now, when we're standing in the lobby, again, let's have a look at the history. We can stand here and do this. And let's scroll far enough back to actually make a difference. Let's go to the 22nd of April. And you can see when I do that, the building is significantly different, a lot more work going on. Again, if we split the screen, you can see here that the one on the right-hand side is operational building, receptionist there, and one on the left-hand side is very much work in progress. And again, that gives the idea that you can show and discussing, align everybody as to what the current status is and where we come from and where we're going to. If I get rid of that history once more, I can go down to the map here, and let's just go into somewhere a little bit more, less claustrophobic, up into floor 2. And I'm looking around here at floor 2, and let's go over here to the window. Now imagine that window was cracked. I would pick, if I wanted to add a snag to the virtual space, to better inform folks of where snags are, you can actually do that by dragging and dropping the snag on here. Let's say it's glazing, isn't it? So let's pick the category glazing, internal glazing. I would say cracked window for a title, cracked window. Or the description, obviously you give it a little bit more. If I was on my phone and I click this next button, it would open the camera and I would take a picture of it. If I'm on my laptop like I am here, I can search my my local hard drive if I want to include a photo. And then I pick a subcontractor for them to be notified. I'm going to pick myself here, and then we hit save then. So basically what you're able to do is you're able to create snags and tags, so that whenever someone actually arrives on site or is preparing to arrive on site to see what to do with regards to snag and tagging, they can actually look up the list of snag and tags in a report and be guided to it actually through the system's auto guidance. I won't spend too much time on that because I haven't got much time left. But of course, one thing I'll end on is the idea that through all of this historical recording of highly visual data, through the ability to virtualize all your sites over the course of the building, you're effectively creating a virtual digital archive. And so that's something very, very valuable to hand over to your client. If you're the contractor, and if you're the client itself, it's very valuable to have for your own purposes. Insurance, legal. And then when the building becomes operational and leaves the construction phase, it's really great for outreach to clients, for informing incoming vendors when they're doing some maintenance, or onboarding new colleagues, etc. So it's really, really powerful to have this tool. Of course, it all comes with branding, unlimited usage, unlimited users. You can duplicate it as many times as you want for different audiences. And the ability there then when you're actually doing that is, if I can just jump out to here, and I'll go here, I'll show you what a finished building typically looks like when virtualized, because now you can bring in lots of data. This is IMR's very own 35,000 square foot virtual factory. Whenever I come in here, you're going to hear Gustavo welcome us. I'm going to pause Gustavo, and I'm going to make my way over to this machine, and I'm going to click on the information button, and on the left-hand side, over comes lots of rich embedded data. Again, it's all about, as the building goes through construction phase, gets canteens, gets offices, gets lobbies, etc. Now you can start to describe some of these places and some of these things. It can be websites, images, text, whatever it is, CAD models, whatever you think does it, and it can be a combination of them. So just going to flip back to the presentation, and just to finish off. So essentially, what are the benefits of essentially virtualizing your construction site? Well, first of all, making it quick to do, easy to do, and cheap to do allows you to do it very, very often throughout the construction project. No matter how big, like I say, some of our clients have 1.5 million square feet, some of our clients 10,000 square feet. The benefits: enhanced communication with colleagues, contractors, and clients. Embed your virtual site into your reports, into your presentations. It's all online, it's all links, just like a YouTube video has a link. Every single space in your virtual construction site will have a link. Augment meetings with virtual visit to site. So essentially, you can actually augment your meetings so that everybody's on the same page. And that kind of leads to things like more accurate estimations, more accurate of scope, estimations of scope, of cost. Everybody looking and seeing the same thing, and therefore there's no misunderstandings. It'll reduce travel costs, obviously, preparing better for physical visits. So you can prepare and get the most out of your physical visit when you make that flight across the Atlantic, or just that train down to the other side of the country. You can revisit virtually again and again. If you missed something in your last physical visit, something was blocked off, something wasn't ready to be visited, etc. in the site, you can go back later. It's really, really powerful for folks like architects. And then you can reduce time for onboarding new clients, employees, and contractors and subcontractors. Things like contractors who subcontract stuff out, they can bring those subcontractors up to speed very, very quickly with historical catch-up. Go to the part of the site you're going to be working on, the machinery, the asset, whatever it is, the infrastructure, see where it's at, see how it's got there, what status it's at. And of course, then all of this reduces risks of overrun, reduce safety and health and safety risks by having less bodies on site, etc., etc. So I'm going to stop there. I think I've talked enough at you guys today, and happy to take any questions at the end of the session. If anyone wants to contact me, there's my email address down below. Happy to have a one-on-one conversation or just take questions after this. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Fearghal. Great to see Innovate and all the development that's been done on it over the years to add different features, different functionalities, but also how accessible it is in there and how easy it is, I suppose, to build your virtual model on your platform using straightforward 3D cameras, and then how much more layers and that you can add in there in terms of information, relatively straightforward. So I know we've used ourselves in Construct Innovate, and it is very user friendly as well.
Right. Yeah. Thank you.
So that's our 4 or 5 presenters completed. So we're over to our Q&A function. So a huge thank you to our presenters there.